I'm glad you're still watching us. It's time for us to get into our insights. And I must say, we're having a very interesting discussion. We've made it a discussion, a conversation here on business today, and we shall be looking at the blockchain model. Or many of you could look at people having questions over the time on cryptocurrencies and how these things work. But with me in studios is Joseph Lutwama, who is the head of a business environment at Financial Sector Deepening Uganda. You're very welcome.
Good morning, viewers.
Yes, thank you for making time.
It is a pleasure.
Indeed. Now, I would love to think that this discussion is of interest to you,
yes,
seeing that you're in the financial sector deepening. But first of all, we need to understand and know that there is a new wave now in how the internet works. It has brought new technologies and how, of course, people are choosing to transact their monies. What we're looking at is at a cashless world, okay? But also a model that should be quite evolving, where it does not leave anyone behind, or even to ease on the transactions, I think, at the end of the day. But before we get into that discussion, tell us about Financial Sector Deepening Uganda.
Financial Sector Deepening Uganda is a non-profit organization.
Yes.
It's a company limited by guarantee.
Yeah.
Our mandate is to make financial markets work for the poor. Currently, we are funded by DFID,
okay,
which is a development arm of the UK government. But we're also funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Okay, that's very interesting.
We strive to work with different actors, both within the private and public sectors, to see how we can improve the functioning of our markets so that they can be able to deliver affordable, accessible, and quality financial services to the least underserved in this nation.
Interesting. Now, your role as the head of business environment,
yes,
what do you get to do?
My specific role within FSD Uganda is to see how I can work with government and industry associations to be able to create an enabling environment for inclusive finance. Yes. In other words, how can we improve on our laws, our regulations, industry procedures, industry standards, to make them more amenable to inclusive finance?
Okay, that's very interesting. Now, of course, we look at blockchain and the law, and I love that you've mentioned that, so basically the right person to have here. But before we get into that aspect, blockchain, the blockchain model, talk to me about it and on what you as Financial Sector Deepening Uganda think about this.
Without making it so complicated, in very simple terms, blockchain is a technology that makes it possible for people to manage their information. In most cases, currently, most systems are centralized. I collect my money and I take it to the bank. The bank keeps a record of my money. I go to university, I do my exams. The university keeps a record of my results and all my performance throughout my school life. So information is usually centralized in one place, and usually intermediaries that actually manage and keep our information on various things, whether it is land, whether it is money or whatever. They call it centralized ledger, where you keep a list of all people's information in one place. Now, the innovation of blockchain technology says that you no longer need to keep information in one place. But we can all individually manage our information, and the different modules that have that information can be linked to all the other people. So if we are a group of 5 people, I'm just giving an example, we're a group of 5 people, and all of us are dealing in, maybe say, are dealing in matoke growing. Instead of all of us keeping our information with one person, who who manages, we can all keep our information, and this information is linked by technology, so that I know whatever is happening with my neighbor, and the neighbor knows whatever is happening to me. We don't need to go to a third party who keeps all our information, and we get information from there. For instance, currently, if I want to know about a business, I need to go to the Uganda Registration Services Bureau.
True, yeah.
If I want to know about someone's account, I need to go to either a bank or the central bank to know someone's details about someone's account. With the blockchain, I don't need to do that. The blockchain, the different information centers, individual information centers, are linked by this technology, so that whatever happens with everyone else in our market is visible to everyone else.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is what they call distributed, meaning that you no longer have centralized source of information, but a decentralized, where everyone has full control of the information, but at the same time they have visibility of what everyone else is doing.
Indeed. So how, as someone from financial sector Deepening Uganda, do you feel that the blockchain has changed the game positively?
Of course, blockchain is a revolutionary idea, because we are all used to keeping information in one place.
Okay.
And information being managed centrally. Now it brings in a concept of actually decentralizing the management of that information, giving and empowering individuals and individual institutions to take charge of their information needs and manage their information needs, and collectively networks to manage their own individual needs. Now that brings in a very interesting dynamic, where you shift the regulation and management of information, for lack of better word, to the people, and away from this centralized place.
Okay.
Now that changes the dynamics of how we monitor, because previously one person was managing everything and ensuring quality. Now in the blockchain, we collectively and together we police ourselves to manage our information. So that's a difference.
Okay.
Yeah, meaning that one would say it democratizes the whole issue of managing information.
Okay. So how has this impacted positively on, if we're looking at access to financial service?
Of course, it is not yet taken root in Uganda, and even the world over. It is a concept that even the established order is trying to understand.
Okay.
Because there is always a fear that if we left the people and the markets to manage their own information, can we trust them? The whole idea of centralizing public information was based on the premise that the market left alone and people left alone, they could not manage their own affairs. They needed someone above them to manage their own affairs. What blockchain is saying, no, they can actually manage their own affairs, and technology can make it possible for that system run efficiently. Now, what it can potentially do for financial inclusion, it would mean that if it's done well and implemented well, it could essentially mean that the individual will be more empowered to manage their information. And the individual will be more empowered to have visibility of what happens to their transactions.
Okay.
Currently, we are at the mercy, for lack of a better word, of the centralized order.
Yes.
And that's why you have regulation. Because the banks are managing our information, different financial service providers are managing our information, we find it difficult to access that information easily.
Okay.
And to know about our performance. And that's why you have the likes of regulators coming in to ensure that the financial service providers and people who are custodians of information are able to protect it and manage it in the most efficient way that benefits the customer.
Okay.
What blockchain would potentially do is people will no longer have to worry about that central guy. That power will be in their own hands. or individual institutions, if companies, that power will be in your hands.
Okay.
Now, of course, the question then is, what happens to all the decentralized authorities? Do they run out of business? Do they have a new role in the new dispensation? Now, those are some of the sticky points that there's yet to be consensus about, and that's why there's no full acceptability of blockchain because of some of those suspicions.
That will bring me to something, regulation. If we're looking at the blockchain model, are we going to have challenges in regulation? Or is this something, of course, being in the position you're in with the type of work you've told us you do, something that maybe you're thinking you need to start working out and how to, because some people feel that it's not safe for them. Some people are saying there's so many things that have come with this blockchain model. So in terms of regulation, do you feel that we have enough, or there's a lot more that needs to be done here?
Of course, blockchain presents a regulatory challenge, which not only in Uganda, but the world over, regulators are yet to really have a good hold, a grasp of how they are to deal with this big animal called blockchain.
Okay.
And like I said, the biggest fear is risk. Can we trust the market? Can we trust the individuals? Can we trust the companies who are using this technology to act in their best interest? Or they're going to exploit the people? That's one side. The other good side of the story, what I could say the advantage of blockchain, is that if it works well, meaning that it will make even the work of a regulator far much easier. Because one of the biggest challenges we're having now is, for me as an individual, I know very little about my bank account. I know very little about what goes on with my bank account. And I'm just an individual. When I walk into any bank, the bank is too big for me. If I had a problem, I have an issue, I wanted to get information about my bank account, they're too big for me. I would find it quite laborious to access that information. If I was a business or whatever, I would have to go through many processes for me to be able to access that
Isn't
information.
that safe though?
If it was maybe the land, if you go to the land registry and I need to know about my land title, I would go through a whole lot of many different processes for me to be able to access information about my land title.
And it's easy here with the...
Yeah, now with blockchain, it will mean that that whole thing, registry, which has all information about it, will be decentralized across the different actors in the market. So meaning that with technology, I'll have full visibility of all the transactions within the land market, and all the details about the different titles and the different things about the market. It will be full visibility. So long as I'm part of this blockchain network, I'll have full visibility of all the transactions, the different actors in that network. So meaning that I won't have to go to a centralized registry for me to pick that information. That information will be easily accessible, and we could easily verify what is genuine and what's not genuine within that network.
Okay. Now, the blockchain has come with its challenges.
Yes.
And like we always say, every time there's new technology, there's so many ambitious people out there who take on that opportunity. But in terms of if we're looking at regulations, probably on who can do this and who can't do this, isn't that something that you're probably looking into? Because at this point, it seems like everyone who wants to.
I cannot say that we first things first. Before you even think about regulation, you need to think about the principles that will guide the whole blockchain ecosystem. And what we are currently doing at FST Uganda is we are partnering with the Ministry of ICT. to be able to work with the Fourth Industrial Revolution Task Force, which was commissioned by the President himself, to be able to look into all these new emerging technologies. Now, blockchain is one of them, but there are things like robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these new way of doing things. So we are supporting the Fourth Industrial Revolution Task Force to be able to come up with a national strategy and a national policy that will guide the adoption of these new emerging technologies. How do we adapt to these new emerging technologies? How do we harness them for our own good, not our own detriment? So I believe that's the first step, and we are partnering with the Ministry of ICT to have a clear and common ground on what these emerging technologies can do for us and how we can harness them, because anything has a good side and a bad side.
True. The
trick lies in how you are able to leverage the good side and manage the risks that come with it in order to promote and facilitate your growth and development.
Okay, so let me ask you a quick one here. Isn't the blockchain, though, very specific on what kinds of people? Is it something you can say is quite inclusive, with all kinds of people?
Yeah, just the architecture of blockchain technology, it is designed for inclusiveness. Meaning that it empowers peers. In other words, we come together as individuals and we manage our affairs. And it creates a framework where you can even regulate yourselves and ensure that you don't
so
have
I could get myself a lawyer in the process and figure this out.
No, the system has an inbuilt, lack of what, self-policing, self-regulating mechanism that ensures that whatever transaction gets onto the network is authentic. Yes. Now, in as far as that is concerned, we could say that blockchain will be a wonderful innovation tool that can promote inclusiveness across the different sectors of the economy, not only finance, but land, business, trade, and the like. The issue is, how do we harness it to get the most out of it, and how effectively can we manage the risks that come with that technology?
Is it something, because our time has run, is it something that you feel has been adopted to quickly, or we still have some time to work?
We still have some time, not only in Uganda, but also the world across. But thankfully, the President has been foresighted and put in place a task force, and we hope that we can get the most out of this task force to see how we can be able to harness these emerging technologies beyond even just
there's
blockchain.
Something happening in July, I think?
Yes, there is. We are hosting a blockchain. Uganda is hosting a blockchain a conference.
Yes.
Actually, not the blockchain conference. It's actually
more like a fourth industrial
revolution conference, where we'll be talking about most of these different new technologies and how we can be able to harness them for development. It will be running on 3rd and 4th at the Kampala Serena Conference Center.
Okay, so final word to the people that are watching you out there. Are you advising them to try this out?
Yeah, if you go on the website, if you go on the internet and you search for 4th Industrial Revolution Africa Conference, Uganda, you'll be able to find all details about the conference, the different speakers, and how you can be able to register and be part of this conference. It will be a very good opportunity for you to educate yourself and learn more about these complex technologies.
Yeah, clearly.
They are very beneficial to all of us.
Because people are a bit skeptical about, being a part of this. Okay, thank you so much, Joseph Lutwama, here with us.
It's been a pleasure.
Indeed. Joseph Lutwama, Head of Business Environment from the financial sector, Deepening Uganda, and he's been very clear on this blockchain model. Now, we've been talking about the fact that change is coming our way, but how we adopt to change, and oftentimes people are very, very rigid on change. because we're looking at what comes with the change. But hey, maybe you can show up there for the conference and see what's happening. Is it supposed to be a free thing?
Unfortunately, it comes at a cost.
Okay, well, you have to pay for the knowledge, I think.
Yes.
So, which isn't a bad idea anyway. But thank you so much for your time, Joseph.
You're welcome.
I'm glad that you made it. And yes, we have been focusing, if you've realized, a couple of days now, we've been looking at the blockchain, the whole intrigue that comes with it. And I must say, very, very interesting discussions there that we keep having. Maybe, back at home, you can think about it if you want to be a part of it. My time has run out. We come Monday to Friday from 9 to 10. Rowena Kajumba is my name. From me and the team, good day.
Don't waste the tomorrows that you have chasing what doesn't matter.
To both believe that we're headed in the right direction.